question that I got in was about the OMB info on purchases. The person wants to know, how can we access OMB info on purchases?
Just go to the OMB website, and you'll see information on OMB 300s. So that's probably the most effective way. All agencies have to post this information also on their website, so it's going to take a little bit of shoe leather, if you will, going to the websites of agencies to find this information. But of course, you can try using Google. That's normally pretty effective. You know, type in OMB 300, Department of State, or whatever the agency is, and hopefully the information will be right there on the first page. But those are the three ways to find that information, which is first is the OMB 300 website, which would link all the information for the agency submissions for you. All the agencies have to present this information via the eGov PMO, which is part of OMB. So you can go to OMB/eGov, and of course, you know, it never hurts to use the Google as a way to find that information. But the first two ways are the most effective.
Excellent. Another person, you talked about simplified acquisitions, and I know at a previous event we had Guy Timberlake talk a lot about simplified acquisitions, but someone wants to know, how can we find out more about simplified acquisitions? Is there kind of a hub around that? If you could talk to that, that would be great.
Yeah, simplified acquisitions, unfortunately, is a bit of a hidden market. You know, I personally refer to it as the black market, if you will, of government contracts, because any contract over $25,000 has to be posted on Federal Business Opportunities. But you'll often find that a lot of these simplified acquisitions are done via GSA schedules because it's done under quote-unquote competition, which means that you find the one company you want to do business with, you find three other what I like to call dogs that are companies that are on a schedule that may not necessarily do what you do. Do a quick evaluation, and then you've got a contract in a couple weeks. That's normally how simplified acquisitions are done in the federal government. So that being said, how do you become that one company you want to do business with? Well, that's all, you know, getting in front of the customer and getting in front of the buyer. And really the last slide is pertinent to that specific question because it involves networking, it involves marketing with the buyers and the potential buyers, and it also involves marketing with these large businesses that may have these opportunities, but of course they can't do them under a small business. And if you're lucky enough to have a GSA schedule, specifically a MOBA schedule, then you're already ahead of the curve to find that. But unfortunately, there's not really a hub about there. If there's a specific agency you're wanting to do business with, like I mentioned, those agencies normally have specific procurement actions on their websites, and they will post simplified acquisition contracts there. But if you're lucky, but it's really about getting in front of the buyer and finding this information out, because it's not normally readily available like a larger contract. And FBO sometimes is a little spartan when it comes to finding this information.
Okay, great. So this question is, as a subcontractor, does a firm lose its ability to contact the USG client directly? I'm concerned about losing my ability to contact USG offices and agencies directly.
Well, that's a great question, and the answer is it shouldn't, because a prime contractor should have a great relationship with its customers. And by customers, I don't only mean the federal agencies, but I also mean its business partners, which are those small businesses. Now, as I mentioned in the presentation, some large companies, a lot of large companies, unfortunately, these days, play a lot of dirty pool. They'll, use small businesses to get contracts. They'll get subcontracting plans to get their foot in the door, and then some small businesses are left out in the cold. But nonetheless, small businesses should have very specific requirements for how they're going to perform on that contract. That's going to be mandatory for any core contracting officer rep worth their salt. So it should not prevent you from getting in front of the customer at all. Now, you just need to be careful because you also want to have a good relationship with your prime. But if the prime gets wind that you're taking these opportunities to do deliverables and work for marketing opportunities against their own interests, they may have a problem with that. So you just have to be careful how you have these relationships and how you market and do BD yourself. But just to answer the question specifically, there's absolutely no reason why a small business needs to be restricted in its contact with the government. And if you are being restricted or if you're prohibited from doing it, then I would have a problem with that. But more importantly, in the teaming agreement, you need to make sure that there's no clauses or any fine print, if you will, that would prohibit this activity, because you have to have contact with the customer yourself to do the work. So that's really on the prime and having that good relationship with the prime, but more importantly, having a very direct teaming agreement to ensure that there's no prohibitions on this activity is really what you need to be doing.
Okay, great. So we did have a first question, a poll question that go out about whether or not in the audience they have government security government contract, and 63% said yes, and 38% have said no. And we have another poll going on, just trying to get an idea of how long it took you to get that contract. So if you take a couple of moments when we have some time just to answer that, and we can share those results too. As far as other questions, we've gotten a bunch of questions coming. Does OMB 300 list small, list all purchase spending or just large? Sorry, list small purchase spending or just large spending?
OMB 300 is mandatory for all capital asset acquisitions of over $1 million. So, I mean, that is the formal definition. Some agencies kind of make it a little smaller, make it 500,000. Some agencies only do it for what they call larger contracts of over 5 million. But nonetheless, the rules are very specific in Circular A11, which is what OMB 300 is under. Any capital asset over $1 million must have this OMB submission, and they're getting very strict with that interpretation.
Okay. And just really quickly, I'll share the results with you too, Jaime, and I'm sharing them on the screen. So about 35% of the people said that they were able to get a government contract in 1 to 3 months, which to me seems very quick. So kudos to you.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, 12% 4 to 8 months, 24, and it's sort of the bulk of it, 24 between 9 months and a year, and 29% over a year. So, so majority of folks over 50%, it's 9 months to a year or more, which I think is probably more in line with what a lot of people go through. But kudos to you out there getting it done in 1 to 3 months. I think that's great, and that might actually speak to simplified acquisitions or some other things that that people get while they're sort of waiting for those bigger contracts. Do you think that's really, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, these results are a little bit surprising. Certainly over a year, you know, that's kind of the norm. But for you folks that answered 1 to 3 months, that's fantastic. So hopefully some of the things that I've talked about actually hit home, and you've actually did those, which is being extremely prepared and finding those opportunities. You know, hopefully it was a simplified acquisition or even larger, which is great for you, or finding, you know, a subcontracting opportunity right off the bat, you know, and the source selection was done in a timely fashion, and you were able to get on a team and get a good part of a subcontract on a large contract. So that's fantastic. I'm very encouraged to see those poll numbers, and it also shows that, you know, although the environment is very difficult, which kind of goes now to the longer time frames, in addition to the Federal Express, or the American Express rather, Open Network survey, which also shows it's a little bit longer. I mean, that's very encouraging, and it also shows that it can happen if you know what you're doing, if you're very prepared, and you do your homework. I mean, you know, it can happen.
Sure. And someone did point out that, of course, the polls are open to everybody in the audience. So even those people who don't have contracts, I suppose, in theory, could have answered that question. And but we'll go back, and what we'll do, Jaime, and for the people listening, is we'll go back and we'll just kind of verify that data just to make sure that you know, that the numbers are good. We'll post those polls online as well. Really quickly, I know we're a little bit over the time. If you've just got a couple more minutes, we'll go through this. Can a small company with no federal past performance get onto the GSA schedule? Does it require a long history?
Well, it's actually a different issue, because GSA had recently changed their rules such that a company with 1 year of federal experience or 1 year in existence could actually apply for a GSA schedule. They've changed those rules as of late last year, such that you must be in existence for at least 2 years, but also show at least two contracts with at least 1 year of performance on each. So the GSA wants to ensure that, you know, you've had the chops, if you will, to be a federal contractor. So you have to be in business for at least 2 years, and you have to have at least 2 contracts, and those 2 contracts need to have at least 1 year of experience on each for you to be eligible to apply for a GSA schedule.
Okay, excellent. And let's do this as the last question. And I know there's a few more out there, but what we'll do is we're recording today's event. We'll put together all the questions that we didn't get to, and we'll try to get answers to you individually as well as in a general sense through the website. But this question, you talked a little bit about going to your small business rep, and of course there are a lot of mentor-protege programs that are out there. So this person wants to know what you think, your opinion of the value of those programs. I've seen a lot of people actually get up and talk at government events who are part of these programs, and they seem very, very willing to sit down and work with other small businesses to say, hey, here are some of my successes, here's where I screwed up. What do you think the value is of some of those programs from what you've heard?
Mentor protege programs are fantastic, and thank you for who submitted that question. That's another great way to kind of do all the things that we've talked about. Mentor protege programs are great for the mentee and the mentor, certainly, because it gets you in front of government clients, it gets you business. The mentor is trying to help the mentee actually grow, and you've got kind of a big brother to help you do that and help you actually use their resources, use their facilities, and use their ability to win contracts, since they have done this before and they can help you. I mean, like I said, to me, it's a big brother program where you're the little brother, and they proudly parade you in front of buyers, and that's exactly where you want to be. Because those programs offer wonderful opportunity to get some opportunities of opening doors that are otherwise closed for you. So I highly recommend you take a look at these programs. There's a lot of good programs out there. They're very difficult to get into, but if you can get into them, they can really be a game changer for your business.
Excellent. Hey, Jaime, thank you very much. And before we wrap things up, I know a couple of people emailed saying that, of course, the American Express Open Study link on the slide, of course, the actual, URL was not visible. What we'll do is we'll take all of the different recommended sites that you mentioned earlier, as well as the study, and we'll put those in the recap so that when people go to watch this on demand and get the slides, they can actually click and access those links and things like that. So you'll get those resources, because I think there are really great resources, and thank you very much, Jaime, for sharing those.
Great.
So thank you very much for everyone's attendance. We're going to conclude today's session, and we'll follow up everything with an email. And of course, thank you, Jaime, for your time. We really appreciate it, and look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks for everybody who participated today. Good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.
All right. Take care.